Hi guys, welcome to Making Sawdust. I'm Kevin. Thanks for joining me. Today I'm going to show you how to cut a tapered tenon on a walking stick. To be more specific, folks, this is a BubbaStik. This is a customer's walking stick that he has. It is branded as a BubbaStik. He brought me a brass ferrule with a rubber cap, and it has a little ice pick on it. Winter is coming up. Customer wanted this installed. There's a few ways you can do it. This is a first time for me, so I'm going to walk you through how I determine the steps I'm going to take, what tool I'm going to use, and some tips at the end to make this a very professional installation. So stick with me, guys. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to lay out the end of this walking stick. The ferrule requires 1 3/8 inches of it to be tapered and actually recessed. The diameter of the ferrule at the top is the same diameter as our walking stick, so we actually have to make a little bit of a shoulder. So I lay out my masking tape, mark a little line, and then I'll run it around with a razor blade so I can cut my tape. In hindsight, I would probably just put my tape at that 1 3/8 inches mark, but this is going to give me a reference point for our shoulder. I'm going to use my 4-inch disc sander, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay a few layers of tape, not a few layers of tape, a few strips of tape, so I can mark some reference lines at the angle of our tenon we're going to cut. The reason I'm putting the lines, the reference lines, is so I can move my block in like 1/4 inch increments. And this is how we're going to create the shoulder on the shaft. We want to end our grinding or our sanding right at the edge of the 4-inch disc, and that's going to start to create that shoulder for us. So we're going to ease into that mark, move our block strategically until we can get that shoulder created. Now if you notice, that shoulder is kind of rounded, so I'm just taking a really sharp chisel and making that shoulder a little more defined, kind of taking out that rounding. And take your time with this, and double check your fit, and next thing we're going to do is epoxy this thing on. The 2-part epoxy I use is a DevCon product, and I am actually really happy with this. I've tried some of the Loctite products, wasn't as happy of it, but if you're an epoxy aficionado like some of my friends are, yeah, DevCon is the way to go, guys. The last thing we really need to do is there are 2 holes to hold this ferrule on and kind of dress it up, and we are provided a couple nails, actually an extra one too. So this is a maple shaft. It's probably really hard, so I'm going to grab my smallest drill bit I got. I think it's like a 60 thousandths. And we're going to just do a little pilot hole, not the full depth of that nail. So that really wasn't that hard of a project at all. This was my first time installing a ferrule on the end of a cane walking stick or anything like that. This particular one is a BubbaStik. You can find those guys online. You can also find these ferrules online. My customer purchased this from Stepinstik.com. I also noticed that Woodcraft and Rockler have them. So if you are a cane builder or a walking stick builder, This is really easy way to cut a tenon for your ferrule. One of my little tips, and it's actually in the instructions for the ferrule kit, is take a black Sharpie or a furniture pen to darken up that shoulder a little bit. That way you don't see any type of gap, because that ferrule isn't going to fit dead perfect, and these ferrules are actually mass-produced, stamped out, so that shape isn't dead perfect. So a little tip for you folks that are attempting something for the first time. A lot of us woodworkers are doing that. A customer brought this to me, and I've never cut a ferrule or a tenon on a dowel. So I had to attack it a couple different ways. I had to attack it visually, had to attack it with the directions, and I also had to attack it with the skills that I have developed over the years. And how was I going to do it? Many different tools could be used to create this tenon. They make cutters that will cut a taper and that shoulder, but you'd have to buy the tool for a one-time job. Now, if you're making these for sale on Etsy or eBay or your local customer base, sure, that investment might be good. Another way you could do this is you just grab your pocket knife and whittle the thing out, fill it with epoxy, stick it on, drive the nails in. We could do that too. You know, my customer could also do that, but he's paying me to do a professional job. This turned out really, really nice. Another one of my tips is wrap that masking tape around that shaft if you're using a grinder or a sander, and that way you're not damaging the finish on the dowel or the stick itself. I appreciate you guys sticking around. This was a first time for me. I wanted to share my experience with you guys and inspire you to try something new.